Hey, I'm Jason from Zycut.com, and I'm going to show you how to build the sample project for our modular Curio display cases. And this is just a small one. It's 100 millimeter depth. It's about 300 millimeters wide and about 250 millimeters on the interior. So let's get into it. It's just, I've got all my parts printed here. I've got walls, our shelves, we've got our top molding, our bottom molding, and we've got our front trim. There's a print list in the PDF that's included with the download, so if you hop into there you can kind of follow along as I build this cabinet here. The walls have a bottom, a middle, and a top, and these all connect with a sliding dovetail. Really simple, just slide it in and click. Slide the next piece on and click. Slide the next piece on and click. Now, it's okay if it's a little loose now. There are some different tightnesses, but when we get the front trim on, it will sturdy that all up. So that's one wall. We're going to do the same on the other side here. We've got the bottom, the middle, and the top. And the difference on these is just where the screw holes are located. There is a middle shelf that has a screw hole also. We are not using that right now. This is just a plain middle piece. Slide the dovetail in, slide the piece on, slide the dovetail in, slide the wall piece on. Walls done. Okay, now we need to do the shelves. I printed two different kinds of shelves. These are stationary shelves. They can also be used as adjustable shelves. The front of the shelf does not have holes on the bottom here, so that's how you know which side faces forward. And then on the connection, it's really simple. We've got a few tightnesses of dowels, just little 3D printable dowels. You push them in the holes. I prefer the really snug version on mine. It makes it a nice solid connection there. Going to insert all the dowels here, and then I'm just going to lay that down. But we have these small little nuts, and these screw over the thread here. So you just put that on and screw it. Make sure you got it lined up pretty good first, and that's going to secure the vertical direction for weight. So it also keeps those pins from separating because it can't go anywhere. Get those nice and tight and there, and you can see that that joint is reinforced there. So bottom shelf, done. Now the next shelf, I went ahead, there's a couple of varieties you can print. I went ahead and printed the version that has a little channel for LED lights on the top. So I'll run LED lights up the side, across the top, and down the bottom. And there's notches in the molding that will accommodate you running it up above and down below if you want. So we're going to do the same thing with this shelf though. We're just going to align the pieces here. It doesn't matter, all the pieces of the shelves can go in any orientation. The most important thing is that the bottom matches, because if you were to flip that over, you can no longer do the screw properly. You want a left and a right joint, okay? So again, just going to put in the little dowels. Push those together. Put in the dowels. Push those together. I'm going to attach the nuts on the screws. There's two different tightnesses on the nuts as well, and there's two different sizes of the nuts, but since we're using the smallest cabinet, we're going to use the small nut here. So that is nice and sturdy, and that will be our top shelf. The thing about the shelves is the clean side faces inward on the assembly. So I have the clean side with the LED strip facing inward, and the clean side to put your display items on facing inward. Okay, now we've got the walls, and the walls, the way you can tell which direction is up is this keyhole needs to look like this orientation. So the bigger hole needs to be at the bottom and then the slot here. So when you put the screw in, it slots in. So that is how you know which direction is up. We'll put those here, put that here, and then we've got these bolts. They print flat. There's 3 different tightnesses of these bolts, and you can simply screw these in. You can use a pair of pliers, or there's a special tool that we designed that just goes over the head of these bolts, and you can finish tightening the bolts with that special tool. I'm actually going to have to grab that in a minute because I printed one, but I didn't put it nearby. So I'll get that. You simply insert the bolts through the holes here and screw them together. You can do the final tightening with that special tool. I'll show it to you in just a second here. Okay, so I've got this little special tool here. So this is basically just a little screwdriver. It's a flathead screwdriver basically with a wider slot, and your bolts can just fit right in there, so it's easier to grab it and turn it. Okay, I've got my special tool. I'm just going to use it, insert it in the hole on the side, line it up with the bolt, and turn. And you can tighten the bolt into the side here. Okay. And that flat bolt gives you a pretty secure connection. Printing the bolt flat this way has basically the line of filament go around the exterior and makes it much stronger than if you were to print the bolt vertically standing up. I've gone ahead here and put together the main assembly, which is just the shelves and the walls. In the PDF directions, I show you how to build the moldings first, but it doesn't really matter on what order you do that on. You can build the main assembly first or go back and do the molding first. It doesn't really matter. We're just going to need the molding for the next step. That's the main assembly. It's already getting much stronger having those joints put together. We're going to do the crown molding next. I'm going to set this aside here. Okay, now this, you can print whatever molding and trim you want for this. Just be sure to use the same size that I recommend in the PDF. This is a 100mm corner, this is a 100mm front, and same with the bottom trim. The bottom trim is just the top trim flipped upside down. And this version, I've gone ahead and printed the LED notched, which just has a notch in the corner to accommodate the track of the front trim. So your LED lights can run straight through into the top. Okay, for the molding, it's the same process as the shelves. I'm going to go ahead and use the larger nut, the shelf nut, for this because I already have it. So, and then I'm also going to attach the emblem to the front of this. Now these are the same emblems that we use on our twist vaults. So there's a little emblem holder, and this you can insert into the back of the emblem, like so. It's this little tiny tab, and then that inserts into here. If you want a permanent connection, we recommend gluing all this stuff, but if you're just trying to get it together, see how it all goes together, and might want to change it later, you don't have to glue it to start with. Everything should fit fairly snugly. This also allows you to attach a finial to this piece. So pick your favorite finial. There's a pack of finials in the main directory. On the bottom, we did not use a finial piece. So this one is just a straight 100mm length molding. I'm going to go ahead and use this finial. Just screws in. The other thing about molding is for the classic crown, there's an option to use molding with a pediment. That's what this extra attachment is here. So you can print it with the pediment, or you can print it without impediment. Up to you. I'm doing one of each. Then you're going to insert your dowels again, push it together. You're going to insert your dowels again, push it together. And for the molding, again, there's these screws on the back just like the shelves. I'm just going to go ahead and attach the screws together with the nut. Just be careful to line those up. The way they print, to give you nice strength around the piece, there is an angle on the bottom of it, so you can get off if you're not careful. But just get it twisting and it should fall into place there. You can use the smaller nuts here too if you want to save filament and a little print time. Up to you, but that gives you a nice secure connection there. Okay, I'm going to do the bottom molding next. Same story. We've got a couple of dowels. I'm going to insert the dowels. Push the pieces together. Again, there are different thicknesses of this. There is a bridging, when you print this, there's some bridging that goes on here, so if you have sagging, you might need to use a looser dowel, but I found that the snug dowel works good for me. Go ahead and screw the pieces together. This is the strongest joint we could figure out for connecting multiple pieces. It's an interesting challenge to have to connect a bunch of small pieces to build a piece of furniture. So this mechanism with the reinforced dowels and the screw gives you a nice sturdy connection. This is just PLA and it's plenty strong. So, okay, now we're getting to the end here. We're going to need some more of these sliding wall dovetails. And we're going to slide those in from the back of the walls. Click them into place. They have a little snapping design here, so that just snaps in. And then we can slide on our molding. So it might be a little tricky, just getting it all at once. If you have big hands, that's helpful. If you want, you can come at it vertically and slide it down, click it into place, and that is that. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing on the bottom. So maybe flip it over here. Get your sliding dovetails in the bottom. Ooh, that has a little bit of sagging there. Okay. If you can, when you're printing this, and I forgot to check this when I was doing this batch, you want to make sure that your bridging occurs in the short direction, not in the long direction. Otherwise you get more sagging. So don't do what I did, and make sure that your bridging is going on the short direction here. And then all we're going to do here is slide this molding on as well. Okay, there we go. So that is most of your cabinet. Now the easiest thing to decorate with are these front trim pieces. This is the fluted design. This is the double wide. So this one has a channel on both sides. One's for LEDs, one's for clipping onto the cabinet. When you're doing a cabinet, this has 3 100mm walls. So that's 300 millimeters in the vertical direction. That's what you need to cover. Now these are 150 millimeters. So it's going to take 2. They come in 3 heights. They come in 100, 150, and 200 millimeter heights. But what I recommend doing is overlapping. So either using a shorter piece, so there's some overlap, or a taller piece, so there's some overlap. So instead of using 3 100mm front trim, I'm going to use 2 150mm to make up the 300mm height. Super simple to install. These literally, you line them up and push, and it just clamps on. So that's all there is to it with these. We wanted that to be as simple as possible. And now that wall has no wiggle in it at all. These These add a lot of extra strength to your cabinet. All right, so with that, you are pretty much done. I just tightening some of these bolts a little bit more to make sure they're good and secure. There is a bolt cap, which I did not print for this demo, but if you want to use a bolt cap to fill in the side holes here, you can simply just press it in place. If you want it to be more secure, you can put like a tiny dab of hot glue on there so that you can easily remove it later. With my testing, they all just wedge in, so you don't even have to. If your prints are coming out nice and clean, you can just wedge them in nice and tight and they'll cover up those bolt holes. There's a thinner version and a thicker version, and then there's a tighter and a looser version. Okay, so that is your sample curio project. You can make this taller, you can make it wider, you can make it deeper. You can choose between a wood grain pattern on the trim. You can choose between a cyberpunk, a dragon design, or this classic furniture design. There's lots of options for customization. And then if you also want to hang your cabinet on the wall like this one, we have designed templates for you that just represent where the holes are on the back. This is a 200 millimeter template. You can also use, there's 100 millimeter, there's 150. Honestly, you just kind of slide the dovetails together, maybe put a piece of tape there if you want to do a whole huge run. And I'd recommend using the size wall that you have so that it shows where the dovetail joints are. And you can just use a simple drywall screw, put it in the wall, and line it up, slide this over, and you have a wall hanging cabinet. You can also run your LEDs down the sides, across the top, and that's it. So thanks for watching, and happy printing, happy building. I hope you enjoy your curio.